Hey, it's the podcast guy.
Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United of the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this. But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United, the National League, are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast in association with Lucky Star Gin. I'm your host Mike, and with me today we have Neil and Harry. In this episode we are going to discuss the AFC Fylde win. We're going to discuss the ladies team, and we may briefly mention the Halifax match that I didn't do a pod on, but it will be a very, very brief mention, I promise. We love hearing from you. Join the conversation, stay connected, share your thoughts on the episode. Follow us on social media at Sutton Podcast and give us the likes, shares, thumbs up and all the other ego boosting stuff. Neil, how are you? It's been a little while for you, I think, but how have you been?
Yeah, really good, thanks. Really good. Yeah, I'm trying to probably averaging one game a month, trying to fit them in amongst family life. But no, I've been good. I watched the Fylde one on TV on DAZN, so we'll come on to that in a bit, I'm sure. But it's such a different experience watching it on TV and watching Sutton on TV as well. You actually see who's doing what on the field rather than being pitch level at the VBS. But no, I'm good, thank you, Mike.
Just your bit, yeah, excellent. And Harry, for those not watching, Harry's got one of the pink hats on, which we will no doubt be discussing. But Harry, how have you been?
I've been good, thanks, Mike.
Excellent.
I'm still feeling the effects of obviously Tuesday night still catching up on me, and obviously last night, I was debating whether to sort of go to the ladies' game, but I thought I'm going to go support the ladies' team because I've obviously often seen the reserves play, and I don't often get to see the ladies' play. So I thought it's a nice opportunity to get down the Gander Green Lane to not just to obviously support the men, support the women for a change.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice to see them at Gander Green Lane because they've been elsewhere, so it's quite difficult for me to get to matches as well. Right, I did give you a little question earlier. I'm just going to do the what's it called? Jingle. That's it. My brain's gone. So the question is, if you could go back and experience your first Sutton match again, would you do it? And why or why not? So think back to your first match experience. Was it a good one? Was it a bad one? Would you want to go back and experience it again for the first time? You're both pondering, so I'm going to give you a couple more seconds. I'm going to tell everyone there's a bit of jeopardy tonight. My flag fell over earlier. It just flopped down, so that we could see the flag drop, and you could see my terrible wall behind it. But Neil, you look ready. What was your first game, and would you like to go back and experience it again for the very first time?
I'm pretty sure it was us against Swindon on a Tuesday night a few years back. I remember Swindon bringing a lot of fans for Tuesday. They'd filled out their end. It was before the ground was reorganised. The away fans were under where the Amber Army sort of stand is now, and it was. I remember just being quite a deafening atmosphere. So yeah, it was a 1-1 from memory. I remember videoing lots of it, always trying to catch a goal, but I wasn't lucky enough to. But so I would go back and experience it. It was really, really good atmosphere, and I really enjoyed it.
Excellent. Was it the February one, the Valentine's one? Because I think we won it.
Good question.
Was it a night time or?
It was night. Yeah, it was a flood.
Yeah, it was. We did win that.
Did we win that?
Yeah, we came
good.
Back,
yeah.
Put it 2-1. Jenny mentioned that one the other day as well. It's one of her favourite matches. Obviously, she hates Swindon with a passion. Harry, what about you? What was your first game, and would you like to go back and watch it again fresh eyes, or why not?
Considering how long I've obviously been a Sutton supporter, like where I've watched so many games, I can't actually remember back to the day I actually went to watch Sutton for their first game they actually played. But I feel like it was around the sort of similar time when I started to join to play for the community team, and like an August, like a pre-season friendly or a July pre-season friendly at the age of about 15, when we was just sort of playing on the Collingwood Rec, and then there was the opportunity arose to sort of just go in after it to watch the sort of game. And then each weekend after the sort of training, people were going in afterwards. Then just obviously further down the line, I didn't think I'd obviously just stay on for as long as I have, and then I've just sort of seen the journey go.
Yeah. Excellent. So yeah, give us your answers. What was your first game? Would you like to go back and watch it again with fresh eyes? I think I would, because it was way back. I was a bit nervous going donkeys ago. It was like 88 or something against Enfield. I know we won it, and I know Lenny Dennis scored, and it kind of hooked me on the drug that is Sutton United. But let us know what game you first saw, and would you want to go back and watch it again? So various bits of club news, but we will do the important one first. Harry and I, and others, lots of people actually, were at the ladies' game last night. Fantastic 4-3 win. I got to go on the curver. I was the only one on there. And I kind of snuck around. Not think I was supposed to, but I still did. What did you think of it in general, Harry? I mean, we were 4-1 at half time, I think it was, and some absolutely fabulous goals. What was your thoughts on it, especially as one of the first times you've seen them?
I thought it was a very sort of like quite high intensity, sort of like going back and forth, and there was sort of the lot of intent to sort of get forward and sort of just to try and make things happen for those obviously sort of watching, to try and make it the best spectacle for those who have actually come out to sort of watch it, to try and make it the best competitive game for those supporters that have actually come out to sort of watch, to try and make it more of a watchable icon for future games.
Yeah, I mean, it did also get a little bit feisty in stages, which doesn't always happen. I mean, it doesn't always happen in a women's game, but it did get. There was a bit some niggles going on, and I mean, there was a very big scare where they. I mean, I think Lucy said it in a post match. We're in control. Then the referee decided he was having a lot of fun, so he started making some interesting decisions, and brought the game back to 4-3. And they had a very good chance in the dying minutes. Harry, were you still there? Were you watching that? And do you remember it?
I don't. I was sort of like, I think at times just sort of like dipping, sort of like getting a little distracted with obviously just the things going on sort of around me. So I was missing aspects to the sort of game sort of thing.
Yeah, you're annoying people like me talking to you. But there was a very last minute tackle almost off the goal line. And it saved it from being 4-4. So that was a nice little.
Yeah, I do. Funny, yeah, I remember that opportunity when we thought with like my sort of just like thinking, oh, then they just sort of their managers just sort of like I think looked turned away, sort of thing like, oh, I just couldn't believe it. We just, I do, yeah.
Yeah, but it was a really good game. Lots of people there. So hopefully we'll be able to retain that. I don't know how many more times I'll be at Gander Green Lane for the rest of the season, but hopefully we'll be able to get more people along, as you said. And I have apologised privately, but Emma, who scored 2 of the goals, Mike struck again and very confidently called her Hannah twice or 3 times to her face. I've got previous for this, so it's not you, but yeah, sorry, Emma, again. So I was at the Halifax match. Were you both there, or Neil, were you listening to that one? I think.
Yeah, I was listening to that one whilst the kids were in their class, various Saturday classes. So it wasn't. Part of me was glad I wasn't at the ground, if I'm honest. Yeah. So I caught the highlights, and it sounded like a really, really difficult afternoon.
Yeah, it was. Harry, it was, sum it up. Give us some thoughts for yourself on that game.
I hadn't even got into the ground when the sort of first sort of goal come in, because I was still manning the sort of where I was after 5 minutes into kickoff, and I heard someone, I think, a cheer, And I said, "Who's that? Who scored?" I thought like it definitely didn't sound like our lot because it would have been a much more raucous cheer. And I thought at this point, oh no, this is just not the start we would have obviously just got off to wanted to get off to, especially with our home form, when that would have just put a dampener in the mood, sort of just the flat as it has been at sort of at home, which I think the players have sort of felt the energy with that added on pressure. Then I just felt the sort of the thing that was riding on them from the sort of start. And then I think the pressure was obviously just sort of mounting. Then obviously before we knew where we are, we found ourselves 2-0 down. Then it was just we were just sort of just trying to turn everything the clocks and sort of thing. This wasn't sort of happening for us.
Yeah, for whatever reason, it wasn't happening. And yeah, we're going to come on to the flat atmosphere later because we're going to talk about the next match. But luckily, I had actually planned no pod because I had to work. So I still don't really want to talk about it, but it was lucky that I didn't organise a podcast. It wasn't because of the result that was already in place. Other bit of news. I don't know if anyone's or you've seen yet. I know there's been some comments, but we've announced the season ticket prices, and there's for renewals, and it's been a bit of an increase. To my knowledge, this is going to be the lowest price. So anyone who's got a ticket, if you buy it at this price, it's the lowest you're going to get. It might be the early birds at the same price. I don't know any other details, but I know this is the lowest price. So any other increases, maybe more for general sale. But any thoughts? Or I mean, I don't know if you have a season ticket, Neil. And Harry, you probably still come under the community side. Do you still play?
Yeah, I do sort of get one sort of subsidised for me, but I think last year I wasn't sure whether they was doing sort of how many they were going to get. So I paid for one for about, I think, £180 odd for the 19 to 23 category, which I fall into.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's been an increase, and lots of people got lots to say on it, but probably I'll gather some more comments and cover that a bit more on Sunday.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Alex and Claire, watch out because we'll be talking about it. So we're going to jump onto Fylde. There's a lot to go through. So first of all, the lineup and expectations. So Harry, what were your thoughts? Were you conscious, sober enough to start thinking about the lineup and what your expectations were at that point?
I wasn't sure what lineup, how Steve was obviously going to sort of shuffle the pack, because sometimes we just don't know how he's going to sort of set his teams sort of out, sort of thing. He's the best person to sort of know his 11 sort of thing. We might think he's going to put this player in, but only he's probably got the best indication of how he's going to sort of. So like I always find it hard to sort of know like what to expect with this sort of lineup sort of thing, or who he's going to sort of put out. But obviously, there's a few sort of surprises as the sort of, I think, when certain names weren't on the sort of bench, and then that obviously sort of showed in the sort of how we sort of, I think, looked sort of, I think, the start, and when the sort of the changes were made sort of second half, which I felt he obviously knew from how he sort of put that, it sort of the game sort of turned.
Yeah. And yourself, Neil, what were you thinking at the lineup side?
Yeah, it was similar. I wasn't really sure what the lineup would be. I know there's been sort of a medley of injuries, and so a few things that I wasn't overly surprised by the lineup. And we'll probably come on to it in the first, when we talk about the first half. But it always strikes me as say Edwino Vaz and then I'm like, things like Ryan Jackson. I'm not sure if he's a natural right back, just watching him play and things like that. So I don't know if he's sort of filling a gap there, if that's that is his natural position, but he just hasn't impressed as much. So I was a bit surprised by that, because I remember where was it? I was at the Spennymoor match, which was not like when he played. It wasn't entirely his fault. It was a team, as a team collectively. We just didn't click that day. It's maybe similar to Halifax. But he seemed to get stuck. He wanted to move forward, but he didn't want to. He was strong going forward, but then it left obviously gaps at the back and things like that. So I wasn't sure if that was just a covering position where he was filling in basically. But I wasn't overly surprised by the starting lineup, to be honest. I thought the first half was really interesting. But we're going to come on to that.
Yeah, he was. He's a right back or right wing back. I can't remember if he's actually a right back and he's doing the right wing back role, but that is his natural role. I think part of it is there's a lot on him at the moment because he's one of the more experienced players. I think he probably was feeling a bit embarrassed for the Fylde match because he was called man of the match against Halifax and he was on the bench. So not being harsh of Steve. Steve said that in interview. Man of the match.
He said he didn't even get on the pitch. I heard that. I was just like, my God.
But he made 4 changes to the starting lineup, which kind of expected from the mood he was in on Saturday. And there was some kind of key changes made during the second half. You mentioned the first half. Now, I've had different people say different things. Obviously, I watch everything through amber glasses. So I was kind of the opinion we weren't doing too bad. I know they scored, but we weren't doing too bad. We were keeping the ball. It's just that final third we weren't finishing. How were you feeling sort of, let's say, the half-time moment, because we'll skip the first half almost. How were you feeling kind of for that first half and at half-time? Were you uncomfortable or were you quite happy? Obviously not at the score.
Yeah, I'm happy to go first on that. I thought, I agree. We didn't look troubled, to be honest, aside from the goal. And after the goal, I was impressed. We didn't really panic. We actually played some really good football, and there was a few bit. I mean, I made some notes whilst I was watching it. We had a couple of good chances, and 25 minutes in, there was a really good run and a cross by Vaz, and a header by Davies, which I thought was a really strong chance. He headed it straight to their keeper, but it was there was no one else there. That could have easily have been a goal. And there was a couple of chances after that. So I wasn't uncomfortable with 1-0. It was disappointing, but I thought the goal was coming from us because we were definitely threatening more and more as the half went on. I think Fylde were definitely on the back foot going into the first half, and they were looking forward to the break, whereas we would have carried on playing. And so no, it's similar to yourself.
Yeah. What about yourself, Harry? How were you sort of feeling? I mean, obviously it was an early goal. I mean, Steve said the wind got behind it, so it was a bit sort of harder than maybe we were expecting. But how were you feeling in that first half? Did you feel that we had possession, we just didn't have that cutting edge, or was it more frustrating watching it in person?
I just felt we obviously in certain games we see a lot of the ball, but then I think like the players just think like they're just trying to overcomplicate things. What they want to sort of do the ball, they know what they want to sort of do up there with it, but then they're just sort of panicking if it goes wrong. Like they think that people are going to get on their backs. I think they just need to try and back their instincts more to try and obviously just get the ball in the box more, which us as fans would be like we'd be more sort of behind that sort of thing. But as sort of I think sort of to say was I sort of I think worried or concerned at half time. I thought not particularly with how the way the game was sort of going and how we was obviously sort of dominated majority of the sort of ball and just try and play in possession and stuff. And then I just always thought as the sort of half was going to sort of go on, we was always going to sort of just pick up some form of momentum because there's like we was always going to improve. I think as the half was going to sort of come on because I just felt it was just coming.
Yeah, I mean, you make a really valid point there. Is I think it was Josh when he was on said. Sometimes when you're playing, if things aren't going well, you'd rather pass the responsibility on to someone else. So you kind of do your bit and just be safe, so you don't give the ball away or anything. So that kind of builds to that thing where they're building up and then they end up going backwards. I think yes, you're quite right. We would much prefer the ball launched in, get it in the mixer. Something's going to happen, but we don't play that way anymore. We kind of want to keep the ball and rotate and recycle it. But it's one of those things of it was one of the chances we had, and I was just counting because we took a corner and the ball kind of went 33 passes, I think, before it touched one of their players. And I was like, well, does that count as a set piece? Like I've said this before, it's like we took the corner, it was a short corner, it went all the way around the world and came back again. Yes, they cleared it away in the end, but I'm like, if that had got in, where would they have shown that from? They would never have shown it from the corner because it was just way, way too long. But yeah, it is difficult because you hear everyone around the pitch when we're taking free kicks or anything. Just get it in there. But they've obviously got a style that they don't want to do that or need to do that.
Yeah, it's changed, hasn't it? It really has changed. That passing game is, we sort of live and die by it, and it can be frustrating to watch sometimes. I'll be honest. Like you see, bomb forward get to their third, and then the ball comes back again because our player's under a bit of pressure, and then it's like, I get it though. You recycle it and you switch sides and try again, but.
No, when you're there in the moment, as you said, and Harry, you're going to jump in as well, I guess. It's you just want that ball to get in there. You want someone to fund it. You want Harry on the pitch.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd want me on the pitch. I'm not really that sort of in that sort of area. I'm just more of a defensive-minded player.
So we did have possession, and we kept our cool. But there was another moment. We could have been 2-0 down. Penalty. I don't think it was. I don't think it was a wrong decision. I was going to say. I think it was one of those that you want given to you, but when it goes against you, you're like, "Oh, come on." I mean, Harry, you shook your head as I was partway through that. What did you not think it was?
I thought it was sort of from obviously I don't have a good view as to what the angle was, the referee sort of thing, and then just from looking at it, I think it probably was somewhat a bit sort of. Maybe a little bit clumsy, but I just thought it was literally just the soft the way how it just all happened, happened about sort of thing.
Yeah, what about yourself, Neil?
Yeah, I agree with Harry. It looked like a clumsy sort of bundling down rather than. There's nothing malicious in it. It probably was a penalty, like on balance. And the annoying thing on DAZN I found, and I've only watched a couple of games on there. National League matches, but they don't often show replays. They'll show a replay for goals, but I don't think they showed the replay for the actual penalty. So like you didn't actually see it again unless you sort of rewound the channel and what showed to watch it more carefully. So, but it was a penalty, but it just felt like a fairly soft one that you'd be really upset. Like you were upset giving it away, but you'd be shouting for if it was your player that got bundled down.
Absolutely. On DAZN, they when they show replays, they will show the replay no matter what's going on. So there was one point we could hear the commentators talking about a corner coming in, and they were still showing a replay of the thing that made the corner. I'm like, if we score from this, war. But on the penalty, Jack made another save. People seem to be confident. Certainly, I was watching Roland's bar, and people seem confident when he's in goal for a penalty. Are you confident, Neil, or do you still watch with your hands over your eyes?
I haven't sort of assessed his shots and stuff, but he just seems a really good natural shot stopper. I did have a sense of confidence when I was watching that penalty that he could save it. It wasn't the best penalty in the world. It wasn't terrible. It was struck reasonably well, but it was quite close to him. But it still needed saving, right? It was a couple, probably a meter and a half away from him. So. Yeah, I was confident. I felt it was like very much 50-50. Whereas normally, if it's someone else, you think 90% chance that it'll go in the back of the net, right?
Yeah. What about yourself, Harry? Did you think you confident with Jack there?
Yeah, with how he sort of just commands himself in that position of that goal, and there's the presence he sort of just gives to that sort of back four. And it doesn't sort of strike as a sort of the person to show that sort of fear in him, and there's the sort of thing he just level-headed and composed. I just felt in the moment there's always an opportunity with Jack Sims. He's just going to sort of do something to keep us in the game, and then at sort of a vital time. If we had gone 2-0 down, it would have been a different game. So I had it in the back of my mind. Because he usually sort of relishes sort of an opportunity, sort of something like that to sort of do it, where he pulls something out of the bag like that, and he just proved it.
Also, he was in all pink, and he wore one of the hats. I think there's a photo floating around somewhere of him wearing one of the pink hats. Yeah. The subs at halftime, I've messaged him, sort of kind of going, well, you might want to point out it was 1-0 when you came on and we won the game, especially Nana. He came on in 77 minutes and we were 1-0 down, and by the end of the match, we won it. But what did you think of their performance? I mean, Josh had quite an influence on the game, fresh legs. Harry, what was it feeling like when he came on there? Did you kind of think, oh, we're going to get something moving now? And obviously he won the penalty as well.
Yeah, as soon as I I think Josh came on, because he was probably like, it was always going to be sort of fired up because he'd just been on the sort of, I think, bench, and I don't think anyone would be happy to be on the bench. So I just sort of, when he sort of came on, I think he just knew he wanted to prove a point to sort of Steve Morrison, and I think he's very much justified that in his sort of second half performance with like how he was just trying to get on the ball and really just sort of run at his sort of fullback and just really cause their defence problems. And then that obviously got rewarded when he won the penalty.
Absolutely. And Neil, what do you think of the subs and the influence they had, impact?
Yeah, no, I agree. It was a good sub. The substitutions are good. I think it was Coley. Josh replaced Vaz. I think Edwina Vaz, who I think had a decent first half. What I'd say is that, without being too harsh, he feels like he should be he feels like more of an ideal player to come on as a sub. If I'm honest, Vaz,
right?
Like he rather than starting, he played. He had some good runs, but the quality of his ball into the box, and I think Will Davies had a go at him at one point, wasn't great. It was okay. Like so it was the right substitution. And Coley, I won't repeat what Harry said, but Harry's spot on there. Josh made a really, really big impact. More of a wider point, Josh. Maybe I'm just not remembering things right, but the first, 15, 20 games of the season, Coley was, I seem to remember starting most of them. Then I think he had a bit of an injury, a few games out, and then he's come on more regularly as a sub rather than starting.
Yeah.
And that's the impression I've got in the last sort of 5-10 games anyway.
He definitely was. He was playing also higher up pitch earlier in the season, so he was scoring quite regularly. And then he got that injury, so he was out, came back, and obviously you sort of nurse him back a bit, and then I think he got another injury, so it was not great. But we also with Vaz, first half, I actually said it in the bar. First half, him and Topolai were rolling up and down a sandpit. That's no other way of explaining it. And the ball was obviously struggling sometimes. And I did say, I bet you any money in the second half, what's going to happen is they're going to be on the nice clear side of the pitch, and the ball's going to be over that side on the sandpit again all the time on the right side. And it kind of was. But Barbrook's goal. Now, do take the piss out of Nadders quite a bit from some of his assists. But this one was spot on. I did balance it up by saying, okay, well, if I give you credit for that assist, I do have to talk about the open goal. So what did you think about Nadders' ball in, Neil, Will's dummy, and Finn's finish?
Oh, no, I thought it was brilliant. Like it was the right, it's the type of ball you want in. It was, on another day, it would have the first man would have cleared it or something, because it did seem to. There was a bit of luck, I think, involved. I can't remember it exactly, but there was a bit. It did sort of wriggle through a few of the players, and but then you got to take your luck, and so I thought it was a good ball in, threatening ball. And Barbrook always strikes me as a player who. He just strikes me as a player with real quality. He has that extra, I think, split second on the ball compared to others. And when I saw he was on the end of it, I was quite confident that he's gonna stick it in, basically.
He always seems to score angry goals. He always seems really angry.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Harry? What do you think of the ball? I mean, I'm gonna dismiss Neil. I'm gonna say Nadders played that perfectly through the eye of a needle. What did you think of it, Harry? The ball, dummy, and the finish.
I think it was an all well sort of crafted I think move. Sometimes what I think Steve is trying to sort of drill into them to sort of how to sort of play, how we can sort of play football, sort of thing. That was a good way of sort of showing sort of what we've got within our sort of thing. Is sort of that sort of ball that just shows the relationship. And that they've got the sort of that they can trust the sort of thing. That's the ball from like Nadders to Davis, the dummy. They're just they're on the same page. then like Finley Barber was able to sort of read what was going to come with it. Then he was just there to sort of just put it away.
Yeah, no, it's a very good point. Well made. That if you know someone's going to be doing the running, you can play those kind of balls going like someone is getting on the end of that. After that went in, it absolutely changed the momentum straight away. I was kind of confident we were going to score again. I don't know why. It was just this up. We're going to do it. We've already mentioned Josh winning the penalty, but when Davis stepped up to take it, Harry, did you have any doubts, or were you like, right, we're 2-1 up here?
I just knew, with obviously his hot goal streaking form, I just had every sort of doubt that he was going to sort of, I think, put it in the back of the net with how high his confidence is. And there's probably no striker probably in the league, unless those probably with much confidence as those probably who are sort of above him or like close to him, probably that wouldn't have thought they were probably going to bag that penalty.
Yeah. Now, what about yourself, Neil? What do you think when he was stepping up?
Yeah, no, I was really confident. I don't know how many goals he scored this season. Was it 14, 15, something like that? I don't know. He scored it.
I think it might be 17 overall, and it's like 14, 15 in the league.
Yeah, something like that. So I was really confident. But it's a really good point Harry made, actually, about the understanding between Nathers and Davies. I think combined they've got 21 or 22 goals, something like that. But between them, and you can tell they operate really well together. So I was really confident. I wanted to see that Gucci bag celebration. That's what I was waiting for. Like, I really enjoyed that little episode after York City.
Yeah, no, that was
and the memes on social media and stuff.
That was good. I mean, Steve alluded to it, but a late show for us rather than the late show against us. Neil, we'll start with you. How important do you think that's going to be moving forward? Knowing that we can now do these late comebacks. And again, I have witnesses that I said in the bar at halftime, you know what, you can't come back if you don't go behind. That may have been too many amber spectacles, but what do you think it's going to mean to the players knowing now that we're not just having this against us, we're going to do it for us now?
Yeah, no, I imagine it makes a big difference, like to your sort of confidence and sort of resilience in the game as well. When you go a goal down, albeit there's Fylde, what is it, the relegation zone? So if you maybe it'll be more difficult to get a stronger team, but nevertheless they were playing well. They were not playing badly, so I think that will fill the team with a lot of confidence going forward. And it's just nice to have it, like you said, go for us rather than against us. That's some good philosophy in the bar. Was that quote you said a couple of weeks ago? I quite liked it. It doesn't matter if you don't win as long as you don't lose, or something like that.
Oh no, that was Steve that says that. Yeah, Steve says that.
Oh, okay. I saw it on your.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Harry, I'm guessing it was a very different journey back from some of the others where we'd won this time late. How were you guys in the stadium with that late winner and holding on as well, importantly, for to seal the win?
Obviously, as soon as we obviously sort of scored, like we thought there was sort of like elation, like yes, sort of thing, like because we probably didn't think the way the game was going, we was gonna get the win, sort of thing, or to get the 2 goals in short succession. Then obviously we did. So then there was obviously sort of like yes, sort of thing. Then afterwards, there was obviously opportunities that we were in a sort of thingy, like coming into the dying embers, how games have maybe sort of gone, and just sort of after 90 minutes we've sort of conceded. So then there was a little bit of sort of worry and sort of like concern that could potentially, because they had sort of they could still have something to sort of fight for, but we managed to grind it out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there was big celebrations in the stadium. There was good celebrations in Rowlands, but I'm thinking, Neil, you couldn't have done much because they must have been in bed. So you must have been sitting there going,
yeah, basically, yeah, just silently going, yeah. But you're right. I think, given it was against a team battling relegation, it's that's a tough game, and then it's also a tough game playing a team near the top of the table. If we were playing, I'm not saying it would have meant less, but if we're playing a mid-table team with much less to play for, that comeback probably wouldn't have. It would have been great, but it wouldn't. The impact wouldn't have been quite as good. I felt bad for Fylde, I did feel for them, but it's one of those. Yeah,
that's the very next point I was going to say. Do we have any sympathy for Fylde, because they did call it a smash and grab? So, I mean, it's happened to us. So, do we feel any sympathy, or is it just like, yeah, you know what, take your medicine, goodbye? Harry?
Well, you've got to, in some sort of way, sort of thing, from their sort of point of view, considering how they were sort of like 1-0 up, and then how long they've held on for as long as they can, sort of thing. But on the sort of flip side, it's sort of like you sort of said, sort of like how it's been happened to sort of you, to have it to sort of on the other foot. It's a sort of bittersweet feeling.
Very nice, yeah. Right, so a couple of points. We've now reached 50 points. Was pointed out to me yesterday when I was getting not yesterday, whatever day it was, I was getting very happy about that. It's like, yeah, but the 50 points was important when we're in the league above with less teams. So it's like, oh yeah. We're in the top half again, which is very important. We're now 6 points away from the playoff spots. I know how stupid I sound talking about it, but it is only 6 points. I think we're 13 from the relegation spot. So I think we can everyone can stop talking about that. Do you think we have a tilt at the playoffs, Harry? Or do you think, let's just plod through, get as high as we can?
If I'm to be realistic, I don't think we will get playoffs. I know I sometimes say like it's still very mathematically, and there's still opportunity that we chance. I'd love for us to sort of get playoffs, or playoffs is still on. But in a truthful sort of reflection on my sort of self, I know I say sometimes other things, but I don't think we will this season with the squad we've got. No disrespect to the sort of squad, because sometimes like it's just like we'll win a few games and they might lose sometimes. If in order to sort of we want to sort of get the playoffs, we need to be a bit more consistent, I feel.
Okay, fair enough. Neil, what do you reckon? We're only 6 points. Come on. So that's a win on Saturday.
And a couple of games in hand over some of the teams above us, isn't it?
Some of the teams, yeah. Rochdale have got loads of games to catch up, so that can be a burden as well.
Yeah. I can't remember who it was. I think it's the DAZN commentators or the analysts at halftime said games in hand only matter if you win them. Like
yes.
And so it's one of those. I think we're probably going to fall slightly short. If I'm brutally honest, but I don't think we'll be. I think we'll probably move up a couple of places still. The one thing I've noted, and without sort of getting into stats too much, is that we've scored 49 goals. I think this season. Maybe this doesn't count. This is not counting the Fylde match, so maybe it's 51 goals, not in total, and that's up there with most of the top teams, except who's right at the top? I can't remember now.
Barnet.
I think they're weighing it. They've scored 80 or something ridiculous. We've conceded 47, and just to give you an example, Halifax have conceded 32. So our defense is probably defense, and then in the midfield has probably on occasions let us down. Not anyone individual, but just the system we play in and then collectively, or they're just inexperienced. I think next year definitely, but I think this year we might just fall short, just at the back end.
Boo to both of you. Right, so there is a knowing me, knowing you. So I've got sent some questions and some points to say. Sorry to say, Harry, you're going to have to do a lot of talking.
Am I?
It's time to have you say what's good and okay on the pitch or not. We'll talk about the lot, your thoughts, your views on the latest news. It's your points of views.
Okay, so firstly is a point from Chris, who said the supporters had a great day out at Blackpool, and the pink hats have to be worn at each match for good luck. Talk us through the pink hats, because Neil will confirm the commentators even mentioned the pink hats on commentary.
They did.
I think at least once or twice. So talk us through the pink hats, Harry.
So, well, obviously, some of us, when we obviously arrived in Blackpool, we took a sort of like a little stroll down to sort of like where the sort of, I think the pier and the sort of like the pier was and the sort of beach, and there was a local sort of pub on the sort of corner. So then some of us opted to sort of go in there, while some of the others went for a little sort of just potter along the sort of seafront, where they're having a little just sort of snoop about and seeing what's about. Then they went into the sort of one, I think a group of them went into sort of one shop, and they were just sort of seeing what was in the sort of shop, and then they obviously purchased one of these hats, and there was quite a few of them coming back together as sort of, you could see them all coming back then like into the sort of pub sort of thing. Then that obviously just sort of spurred some people that were in the pub to sort of go and get some. So then, like me and I think someone who already got one, to go back and get a few more for some of the others, because they all wanted to be part of the pink hat brigade.
Very good. So they're coming on Saturday as well, I believe.
Yeah.
Then Donna Taylor, who I met last night. Nice to meet you, Donna. She showed me a video, Harry.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
doing some dancing.
Oh, yeah.
Talk us through the dancing video, hey. Come on.
Where we were, sort of thing, it was quite in there, I think, because we were like the only ones in there. There was a couple of sort of poles, so we just thought we'd seize the opportunity to just to test our sort of fireman skills, and just to sort of just jump up the pole and see how good we were in action.
You weren't looking like a fireman, mate. You're wearing a pink hat, spinning on a pole. There's no fireman. Luckily, she didn't send me the video, so you're safe. And last one from a guy called Robbie Keane. Don't know if you know him.
Yeah.
Are you better at scoring goals or chatting up Irish girls?
Oh, that's a tough question. That is a tough question. That's a question that would probably, whatever I might say, he might say different. I'd probably say scoring goals. Because if I said chatting up girls, he'd probably have a different answer to say to that.
I've known Robbie a good few years. He's playing goal for us. So
yeah, I was only speaking to him the other day, funny enough, as it happened, and he was just sort of, sorry to go a bit off topic, Neil.
Fine.
No, go for it.
But obviously, sort of, I think something we were looking to do something in the pipeline, a podcast for like something Keen to Go related, wasn't we? Sort of something.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, a while ago. But I think he then went off and had a baby. So. Yeah, so it got sidetracked. But yeah, whenever he wants to do that, we'll happily do that.
So like, if I was to sort of get him to sort of reach out to you, or just sort of sort something, we can try and sort something out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great little group that your company does as well.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to very quickly finish up for yesterday, and it wasn't yesterday. So basically, you've got 3 games to choose from. There's a good, the bad, and the funny. Whichever you want to choose. 1 second. So, over the 3 games, Harry, what do you want to? You can pick anything you like, on the pitch, off the pitch, whatever you like. Harry, what was your good?
Probably, I'd have to sort of. Probably the day, obviously the day out in Blackpool.
Perfect. Neil, what was your good?
It has to be the hats, right? They were called out twice at least on DAZN. So you guys, it could be a massive trend. Like next year at the VBS, everyone's gonna be wearing them. So yeah, that's that and the result, right? That and the result.
Go on, Vicky, get them in the shop. Sutton United, cowboy hats. Neil, what was bad for you?
Oh, bad. Well, I mean, I didn't watch the Halifax game, but it sounded like Steve was really, really upset at the effort put in, and then and it sounds that was disappointing to hear if that's the case. Like, because you can accept losing, but if you can't really accept not giving 110%, so that was probably bad.
Yeah, that's kind of minimum, isn't it?
Yeah.
Harry, what was bad for you?
It probably. I don't really want to say what Neil said, but it probably would have to be probably that sort of game across the sort of last 3 games is what the question you was alluding to, right?
Yeah,
yeah, that would probably be the bad.
Yeah, excellent. And what was funny for you? You can't do the pink hats now. We've already done them.
No, I don't think hats.
What was funny? Probably just the whole sort of the whole sort of thingy about obviously just the sort of Blackpool, just the whole sort of part of it really.
Excellent. And Neil, what was funny for you across any of them?
DAZN's replays or the lack of them. I think there was one on the TV. No, there was the goals. But you're right. So I'm glad they're showing National League football on there, but it does need a bit of work on the editing and things.
Well, it wasn't just that, because we were watching it and we're looking at the sort of breaks, the adverts in half time. We're like, this is the same tape as last week, and they were advertising some NFL thing from the 19th of February to the 2nd of March. And we're like, hang on. Surely you're not advertising something that's gone.
From a month ago.
Right, lovely. Very quickly, we're on to Saturday, early kickoff Saturday. We are in the aubergine kit, which is going to go beautifully with the hats. But what do we think about Saturday? I mean, Dagenham, they're struggling. Complete opposite to what they were earlier in the season. And we've just had a good sort of win. Are we going to take the momentum in, or is it going to be the home match kind of struggles again? Harry, what do you think? First of all, on the match,
I feel like it's going to be sort of quite a balanced sort of start between both sets of sort of teams, because our home form's not been great, and I think it's all like they're going to sort of just very much sort of gather what they can get from what's going on around them, sort of thing. So I think it's going to be a fairly sort of evenish sort of the start. And then I think hopefully as the sort of game sort of goes on, it might just get a bit more open for both sets of teams.
Yeah. What about yourself, Neil? How are you seeing it? I mean, I think they've just dropped into the relegation zone, or they might be just outside it. Should probably check that out. No, they're 19th. So only 2 points off. But they got, again, the games in hand. Boston got 2 games, Woodson got 2 games on them. So how do you see it going? Do we need to kind of get at them from the start, or do we just need to soak up the pressure at first?
I think I'd like to see us sort of impose ourselves on the game a bit. Drive forward and be confident about getting those balls in, like the one that led to our first goal, basically. The Barbara goal, for example, balls like that. And so I think we'll win, but I think they'll be tough as well. I can see it being winning by 1 goal margin. But I'd like to see us play really quite positively, which I think against Fylde we did by and large. We certainly made a bigger effort there than the previous games. So I'm confident.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because I think if we had lost, people would have said, well, we weren't pushing enough, we were this, that, and the other. But because we won, it's like, actually, you know what? I can see what we were doing. So I've said this to them in the past. It's like the result drives our opinion on the match. I'm really sorry, but we're very basic people.
Yeah, completely.
So do you think that Dion Pereira's got it out of his system of haunting us after he's done that on the last game against us? Do you think he's going to come back and haunt us again? And do you think there's going to be a bit of a change up? Will we see Woodyard getting the whole game after his illness? Will Josh be starting? What do you kind of see lineup wise, Neil? Oh, he's just gone silent. He's put himself on mute. Look.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was talking to myself.
The answer there, didn't he? He's like,
Yeah,
no, I'm answering that.
I'd like to see and there's science behind this, but like I'd like to see Boateng start. I'd see Vaz on the bench, and then Coley start as well. I want us to have an attacking, more attacking setup, and then sort of give Barbrooks had that sort of freedom of playing in midfield. He needs to continue to do that because he's just really high quality there. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure how we'll set up, but I think I'd like to see a few changes from the Fylde game.
Yep. Well, you better say, Harry. I know we had a quick chat last night, but what do you think about who's going to come in or stick with it?
I'd like to sort of see Josh Coley come back into the starting 11 because I think he's sort of back off his performance against Fylde. He's put himself in a position to sort of stake a claim to sort of, I think, start. As for some of the other positions, it's quite difficult to sort of know who he might go with what we've got to our disposal.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
One other quick thing. Congratulations, Josh, on the 100 games up. It was posted out the other day, so congrats on that. Steve did call for us to kind of get behind the players from the start. Now, I know I've discussed in the past what's the right way around. Is it the players get us going, or is it we're supposed to get them going? And I've kind of come to this conclusion that it's a bit fluid. It's not one or the other. Sometimes we need them to get us moving, and sometimes they need us. And sounds like it's one of the games that they're going to need us to get going. How do you think, Harry? I mean, obviously it's going to be quite difficult for you to get involved because you don't get to come out until about 3 or 4 minutes after the game starts. But how important is it, do you think, for us to sort of, like I tweeted out earlier, bring the noise early, get involved early to get the players coming out to a great atmosphere?
Because I think that would just sort of set it sort of from the start. Hopefully they'll feel that energy from the fans sort of from the sort of start. So when they're sort of coming out, they'll just sort of see that the fans are sort of I think feeling it, and they've got that sort of fire in their belly. Then that might just hopefully sort of instill that into them. So when they sort of start to play, it will sort of just give them a bit of new lease of life to sort of, so that we're going to try and do our bit sort of thing.
Yeah, I think if we do our bit from the start, then the onus is then on them to go, right, okay, we're giving you the energy, you got to do something with it, which will then fire up the fans again. Neil, what do you think? I mean, I'm a real hypocrite here because I'm one of the quietest people in the world standing at the ground. But what do you think? Do we need as a collective to go, okay, you've called for it, you've got it?
Yeah, when Steve says that, I get the impression sometimes that he doesn't feel like there's backing from the fans from the start of the game. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, you wouldn't necessarily say it. Like you wouldn't say back from the start. And the other thing, and this is just completely anecdotal, but if the weather's sunny, I've noticed every time I've gone to watch a game when it's sort of sunny afternoon on a Saturday, if everyone's feeling a bit flatter at the start, it takes our fans a while to warm up and get going. Whereas if it's a bit colder, you sort of get going sooner because you need to warm yourself up, basically. I don't know. It's just something I've noticed. And I don't know. So I was going to check the weather forecast for Saturday and see what it's looking like, basically.
And then check on the science of the weather now to see what we need to do for the fans, to see if we need to get them in there early, have a few drinks before the game.
Exactly. Well, it's an early start, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 12:30 kickoff. So yeah, bars open at 10:30. I don't think even I can start that. But yeah, so it's an early kickoff. So everyone have your breakfast, get down there. Right, we're going to wrap up, but I do need a prediction from you both. So, Neil, give us a predicted scoreline.
I'm going to be really boring. I think it's going to be 1-0 win to us.
1-0 to us. Okay, Harry?
I've got a feeling it. Don't know. Like the pressure's going to be on us to win at home, but then I feel like Dagenham might get a goal. I reckon it'd be 1-1.
1-1. Okay, well, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to go 3-1 to us because I think we're gonna do it. We're gonna get a good, nice win. Hopefully, nice and early this time. Right. Thank you, guys. We're going to wrap up this episode of Sutton Podcast. As always, we appreciate everyone's attention and feedback. Get involved in knowing me, knowing you. If you, what was the first game you went to, and would you like to go back and watch it again with fresh eyes, and why or why not? Follow, like, share, do all the old thumbs up and everything. The flag survived the episode. Don't forget to subscribe, like, all the rest of it, and leave us a review if you like. We will be back on Sunday after the Dagenham match, and we have got Claire and Alex lined up. As always, thank you to our sponsors, Lucky Star Gin. Thanks to the both of you for doing this and bearing with me, because it was going to be, we'll do it on this day, then we'll do it on this day. Now the ladies are playing this day, and then I even messed it up yesterday. Harry had to kind of go, when are we recording? Because you said in the thing on Wednesday. And I was like, yeah, I'm an idiot. But thanks to everyone for listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Sutton Podcast. Take care and goodbye.
United!